After all, yeah, Joe 30330 does have some very close ties to Ukraine. Unfortunately for Biden, if Congressman Nunes is correct, the former vice president will never cross the finish line as the party's nominee. By the way, we haven't even mentioned Hunter Biden's trip with his father to China. That deal was $1.5 billion. Here with more reaction from the Government Accountability Institute. He wrote about it in his best-selling book, Secret Empires. Peter Schweizer and the Executive Vice President for The Hill, John Solomon. John, I'll throw it to you first. Anything that I said here, anything in my timeline that you see that is off, wrong, incorrect, or is that all now verified and on the record?
Yeah, no, it appeared accurate, everything you said tonight, Sean, from my reporting. And let me add a new fact that I just learned tonight. While talking to senior U.S. diplomats today overseas in Europe, I learned that on April 22nd, 2014, less than 3 weeks before the Burisma Holdings announced that Hunter Biden was joining their board, Vice President Joe Biden met with the Prime Minister of Ukraine. And in that meeting, according to a transcript which I obtained tonight, Joe Biden specifically encouraged the Ukrainians to expand natural gas production with the help of Americans coming to the country. He set up the exact scenario that Hunter Biden just a few weeks later cashed in on.
So, whoa, this now takes it to a whole new level, because now he's basically doing the bidding for his own son's wealth creation. Maybe even his son would share with his father.
Those are the questions that Ukrainians were trying to answer back in 2016 before the prosecutor was fired, Sean, and they never got to the bottom of that. But I do think the evidence that the Ukrainians possess and would like to give to the U.S. Justice Department, it's sitting there to be handed over. Someone from the Justice Department could pick it up tomorrow.
You also broke a story how Ukraine wanted to give us specific information about the Democratic National Committee, the Democrats, looking for the Ukraine to help interfere in the 2016 elections. Tell us about that.
Yes, listen, the former ambassador to Ukraine, Ambassador Chalet, the former Ukrainian ambassador to the United States, Ambassador Chalet, told me on the record in a statement that in the spring of 2016, a Democratic National Committee aide came to him, a contractor, and asked him to do two things. One, to turn over any intelligence they had in their intelligence files linking Donald Trump or Paul Manafort to Russia. And two, when the Ukraine's president came to visit the United States later in the year, in the middle of that 2016 election, they wanted him to make a statement.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Well, so the Democrats were looking to get the Ukrainians to interfere in our elections.
Before they were against it, they appear to have been for it.
And they want to give us that information. All right, Peter Schweizer, let me go to you if I may. You wrote Secret Empires. Fill in the gaps here from what you've heard from John. And also, you might want to just add a little color to the story, which is Hunter Biden takes a trip to Asia with his father, and about 14 days after, he's doing $1 billion deal in private equity, and he has no background history with China or private equity, does he?
Yeah, that's right, Sean. I mean, what you see here is a pattern that emerged that during the Obama administration, Joe Biden became point person for Obama administration policy to two countries in particular, Ukraine and in China. And in both cases, his son cashed in. Ukraine, we've talked about, he was basically getting $83,000 a month as part of his consulting fee for Burisma, this corrupt energy company. In China, he travels with his father in December of 2013 aboard Air Force Two while his father is meeting with Chinese officials. Hunter Biden is doing we don't know what, but the evidence becomes clear because 10 days after they return to Washington, his small boutique investment firm, Rosemont Seneca, gets a $1 billion deal. That's $1 billion with a B, later expanded to $1.5 billion. And that deal is with the Chinese government. It's a deal that nobody else has in China. Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, Deutsche Bank, nobody. So you have this,
this
bizarre
is 14 days
circumstance.
after he flew with his dad on Air Force Two. And, well,
yes.
Can you confirm he had no prior experience with Ukraine, oil, gas, or energy? Did he have any experience with China or private equity? Because I would think Goldman Sachs or one of the big banks would probably be a better candidate.
Yeah, I think they would, Sean. No background in China. His limited experience in private equity was very limited. It was a hedge fund he was involved in with his uncle, James Biden, that ended up with massive lawsuits involving allegations of fraud. So any experience he has in private equity is certainly not the type that the Chinese would have been interested in. And the bottom line here, Sean, is that in both the case of Ukraine and China, we have paper trails. This is not like the Russian dossier where somebody sort of said, this is what happened, I know this is what happened. We have the financial records that Hunter Biden got from Ukraine. John has the ledger from Burisma itself.
All right, last question now.
The visits.
Yeah, no, I don't mean to interrupt. I'm running out of time. And John, you spoke to the prosecutor that was fired,
I did.
Correct?
He said just before he was fired, he was about to interview Hunter Biden.
He was so in other words, he wanted to question Hunter Biden, didn't he?
That's correct.
And that's when his daddy stepped in.
That's correct.
All right. By the way, Peter will be on Life, Liberty, and Levin this Sunday night for the full hour. John, we will have you back tomorrow. When we come back, we've got Trey Gowdy, Rudy Giuliani.